So I created a personalized robotics roadmap for embedded software engineer, and he wants to make a transition to work professionally as a robotics software engineer. For the sake of confidentiality, the name has been changed as Arav Malik Arjunan. And Arav works as an embedded software developer in India currently. He did his BTech in electronics and communication engineering. At his work, he currently uses a lot of C and C++ and works with Linux and electronics. So he has some exposure to working with hardware and also is tremendously involved in using C and C++ and also knows Python. So he currently has no financial constraints and he wants to work professionally as a robotics software engineer, but he cannot go for a master's degree in robotics or AI because of familial constraints, and he has to stay in India because of these matters, and he wants to switch job within 1 year max. So he's willing to invest 1 year in really making that transition and learning robotics from scratch and making that transition from embedded software development to robotic software development. When I talked to him, he was very motivated and he was ready to take action. He just required some proper guidance and step by step roadmap and a structure and a plan. He said he could spend 1 to 2 hours daily alongside his full-time job and 3 to 5 hours on the weekends. He is interested in robotics, computer vision, also machine learning, although mainly robotics and autonomous vehicles and navigation. So the side, the part of robotics that also deals programming hardware, because he already uses hardware at his current work. And he wants to start a career as a robotics software engineer. He currently works in embedded security and hacking, where he integrates sensors with microcontrollers and microprocessors using various communication protocols. He has experience with Raspberry Pi as well. He knows C, C++, Python. He has participated in robotics competitions in college, in his university, and took courses on MLDL because he was very self-motivated and he took up a lot of courses from deeplearning.ai and a lot of popular machine learning courses. His final year project in bachelor's was also computer vision related, and he implemented some ROS projects from ROS, following some ROS tutorials. So he had these queries: how do I proceed with learning? Since my background is in embedded software development, how do I make that transition and how do I start learning so that I can be a professional robotic software engineer? Should I go for an MTech in IIT or not? Because going for a master's abroad, MS in US or Germany or Canada, wasn't really an option for him. And he wanted to know what is the expected salary range in Germany and what are the list of companies in Germany and also in India. And should he really go for a master's or not? Should he consider it or not? So he expressed his aspiration in becoming a robotics software engineer. Now, this is something that we cannot specifically call as a goal because this is very vague and it is not really in the control of anyone. So you want to work as a professional robotic software engineer or computer vision engineer, but this is not directly in your control, and a goal is something that should directly be in your control. I've talked about goal setting as a small part in my video titled The Complete Productivity Roadmap, the complete productivity guide for robotics and AI engineers. So if you want to learn more about how to set goals, you can watch that video. So we'll try to concretize this goal so that it is more in control and you can really make sure that you achieve this wish or aspiration by focusing on things that you can control and uh, that over which you have direct influence. So we can break this wish or aspiration down into three phases. First would of course be he has to really know which aspect of robotics he really is interested in, what is his niche, what is his domain of interest. Phase one would involve defining a domain of interest within the overarching field of robotics, and then the second would be to do projects and build a portfolio of projects within that chosen domain. And lastly, job application. And obviously, if you know which domain you want to work in and you've built a certain number of projects in that domain and you apply for jobs in that domain, that would ensure that you get a job in the field of robotics in essentially essentially the domain that you're interested in. So how would we define the yearly goals so that the goals are smart and also under your direct control? So these are three goals corresponding to the three phases we talked about. These are the three goals: are build three mini projects to define your domain of interest. So the first goal is just going to allow you to define a domain of interest within robotics. The second would be to build two projects, build slightly bigger projects in the subdomain of interest, and then apply for 50 jobs in India, Germany, and US. Note that for Arav, basically going for a master's abroad in Germany or US wasn't an option because of familial constraints, but he could apply for jobs and work directly there. So this is something that he was open to exploring. And I know a lot of people from my personal experience, some who actually did their bachelor's in India in computer science and also electronics, and who just switched jobs and started applying to companies abroad in Germany, US, and other countries, and they were able to secure a job directly without going for a master. So it is very much a possibility for you to apply for jobs in other countries from your home country, and you do not need to go for a master's. Of course, if you can afford to go for a master's, that offers you a very clear, systematic structure and guidance along the way. So if you can afford to do that, go ahead and do that, but it is very much possible to do it without a master's, especially if you have an engineering background. And I think that is also very important. If you do not have an engineering background, I think then uh, it would be slightly harder for you, but it can still be manageable if you spend extra effort in building really good projects and showcase that you're self motivated and you can work in the field of your interest. So we'll split the yearly goal into 4 quarters, so 4 quarterly goals. The first would be to build three mini projects within navigation, manipulation, and perception. So specifically these three fields, because based on the interaction with Arav, I would sense that he was very interested in robotics software engineering in general. So we wouldn't be talking about machine learning, although that is something that can still be explored, but his primary interest was in robotic software, and he has to decide basically which domain of robotics he wants to focus on. So manipulation, navigation, and perception are three areas that would be directly in alignment with Arav's interests. And second quarter would be spent on building a project. Third quarter would be spent on building another project. So 3 months for one project and 3 months for another project. So two projects can be added to the portfolio in the specific chosen domain. And then apply for 50 jobs in India, Germany, and US. And of course, you can apply to other countries, but based on the interests of the client Arav, these are the countries were that would offer more job opportunities in the fields that he is interested in. So in quarter one, build three mini projects within manipulation, navigation, and perception. Complete mini project one. So note that the mini projects last only for 1 month. So these aren't really very big projects, but the goal of this quarter is to really identify your domain of interest. And you can do that by doing a small project in each of these three domains of robotics and really decide which is the domain that you really want to work in, what is most interesting to you. And then after that, quarter two can be spent building a project, where the first month would can be spent on defining the project pipeline. Actually, it can be done within 1 or 2 weeks. So the quarterly plan can be defined based on the project chosen and whether or not it is possible to do within 3 months. So the idea is you should choose a project that's really possible to do within a span of 2 to 3 months. And the next 2 months would then be spent on project implementation. And likewise, quarter three is spent building project number two. And quarter four would be spent applying for jobs. So we have to apply for 20 to 30 jobs. We have to build a portfolio of these projects, and then just simply apply for jobs, prepare for job interviews. So all these things would need to be done in the last 3 months. And there's a buffer month to accommodate for incomplete projects, or if you get stuck somewhere, you can accommodate a buffer month to account for missing pieces of the project. So, and then after that, of course, the monthly project has to be broken down into weekly goals. The monthly goals have to be broken down into weekly and daily goals, and we just simply split the monthly goal into four sub goals, one for each week. And then daily, then these have to translate to daily goals, which is what is in your direct control. And one needs to consistently spend a minimum of 1 to 2 hours on the weekdays and 4 or more hours on the weekends. And of course, the more time you can allocate to your learning journey, the quicker you can make a transition to robotics software engineering. So this is how the plan would be structured. And for selecting mini projects, note that in the plan I've just mentioned, build project one, build project two, build three mini projects, complete mini project one, two, and three. And I've done it deliberately to give room to Arav so that he can choose the projects of his interest. So if you want to build a plan for yourself and you want to make a transition to robotics or machine learning, make sure to choose the projects that you're really interested in, because everyone has different interests. So I can give you a standardized roadmap or a plan, but maybe I can give you a project that might not really be of your interest. So I gave a list of 4 to 5 projects in different subdomains: manipulation, navigation, and perception. And Arav is allowed to choose one mini project from the list and one bigger project. So one mini project could include simply defining a basic forward kinematics model of a 6 degree of freedom robotic arm, setting up teleoperation system to control a robot using a keyboard, creating a graphical user interface to control the robot arm using joints and an effector, and a pick and place robot using Move It, or an automated bin picking pipeline. So last two projects would be bigger projects. And for navigation, likewise, a Turtlebot maze solver could be a mini project, and creating a map of the environment using G mapping package with a depth camera. This is another project that can be done. And then mobile robot obstacle avoidance using LiDAR in simulation, obstacle detection for autonomous vehicle using sensor fusion on camera and radar or LiDAR inputs, drone navigation using GPS, IMU, and camera inputs. And for perception, simple object detection using web camera, ROS camera integration and grabbing images. So to just integrate the camera module in ROS, and then object recognition and tracking using OpenCV could be another project. Recognizing gestures using RGBD camera is another interesting perception related project for robotics. And then object tracking and following with a mobile robot. And the important points to note are that this list is to be used in uh, um, along with the main plan, and that plan requires performing three mini projects and two major projects, and these three mini projects can be chosen from the list and two major projects can be chosen from the list, and these would of course be in the subdomain of your interest. Another important thing to note is that for Arav, his goal is very clear that he wants to work as a robotic software engineer. And you can work as a robotic software engineer in the navigation domain, you can work as a robotic software engineer in the perception domain or manipulation domain or planning domain. So there are a lot of different domains of robotics that allow you to work as a robotic software engineer, and you can find a lot of job profiles online by searching on LinkedIn and finding a list of companies and then going on their official websites and really finding the job openings there and really look at the job profiles, the descriptions of the jobs that are advertised there, and you would be able to see that robotic software engineer is one general job profile, but it requires also specialization for navigation, manipulation, planning, and so on. And so, depending on your interest, you can choose your domain and make a profile in that direction. And all of these require working with ROS, Gazebo, and C++, primarily C++. Some places also require Python. And for Arav, the idea is that he already has good experience in C++, so he can just simply focus on C++, which is already very much demanded in robotics. So this would be an advantage for Arav if he focuses on C++. And of course, Python is simpler than C++, so knowing C++, mostly the employers would trust on your ability to switch to Python if it is needed. So now coming to specific queries that Arav had. So how to proceed with learning? So I gave him this very clear yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily plan. And if he follows that diligently, then obviously um, it is easy to make that transition without a master's degree, because you can imagine that if you show an employer that, hey, I've done three mini projects and I've done two really good projects and I did it all by myself, that's really impressive to an employer. And people like to hire candidates, companies really like to hire candidates who are self motivated and who show initiative. So this is something that would be 100% uh, give you an edge over other candidates who are also applying for the same position. So uh, watch the complete robotics roadmap and ultimate robotics career guide. I think these are two really comprehensive videos, really long videos that explain in detail, and you can anyone can essentially create a personalized roadmap for themselves by following these two videos. And once you do that, you would probably also get stuck a lot, because it's easy to make a plan that, hey, I want to build these three mini projects within a span of 1 month each, and then two major projects. But of course, since this is something that is new to you, you would get stuck a lot. And that's why, and it's also extremely hard working full time and then learning something really technically demanded and intellectually demanding like robotics, machine learning, and so on. So I encourage you to watch the video titled The Complete Productivity Guide for Aspiring Self-Taught Robotics and AI Engineers. So this is specifically targeted towards people who are either doing their bachelor's in robotics, a bachelor's in any engineering field like mechanical engineering, electronics, and software engineering, or are professionally working in these fields and really want to make a transition to robotics and AI. So this is how to proceed with learning, and this applies not just to Arav but for anyone can essentially do this if you really spend time watching these videos, and not just watching these videos but actively following these, using the tools, using the activities that are suggested in these videos, and making a personalized roadmap for yourself and plan for yourself. Should I go for MTech in IIT or not? Well, I I don't recommend doing that, because there's little to no monetary benefits from doing an MTech, and of course, Money is also important, and you can get high paying jobs by gaining work experience and showcasing the employer that, hey, I've worked 3 years in my field, and I can get, and then you can, there's a likelihood to get promoted. But if you want to make a transition to robotics, then doing an MTech in robotics or machine learning or AI would not be of too much advantage, because you can gain those skills in a practical manner by simply doing those projects by yourself. So you can go for an MTech in India if you want to go for a research career or an academic path. But apart from that, if you want to stay in the industry but you simply want to make a slight transition from another engineering field to robotics, then you can simply do that by building projects, especially if you have some association with software engineering. So it becomes simpler if you know C, C++. And of course, this roadmap is specifically to Arav's situation, where he already has experience working with C, C++. But for someone who is, let's say, a mechanical engineer, the roadmap would be different. And that is why I encourage you to create a personalized plan or roadmap for yourself. So for a mechanical engineer, he would maybe need more time to familiarize himself with C, C++, Python, or programming in general. So that roadmap would be entirely different. What is the expected salary range in Germany? This is something you can easily Google. It's easy to find nowadays. Salary ranges are easy to find. So 55,000 to 65,000 euros are starting salaries, and after tax deductions, you can find you can expect to get something between 2,500 and 3,300. And this is for robotic software engineers, machine learning, data science engineers, computer vision engineers, and so on. So, are there well paid robotics and AI jobs in India? There are emerging opportunities in India, especially in Bangalore, New Delhi, and Pune. There's a lot of startups in Bangalore. So, there's definitely a lot of opportunities. And it is also possible to apply to other countries such as Canada, US, and Germany directly for a job without going for a master's. And I mentioned this early on in this video, and I know people who have done that. So this is definitely a possibility. Can you share a list of some companies in India? So Grey Orange Robotics, Invento Robotics, Antbot.ai, HBots Robotics, Asimov Robotics, Cognizant, TCS, Infosys, and Wipro also offer AI solutions. Sastra Robotics, Swayat Robotics, Emotics. These are some good startups in India. Of course, this is in no way a comprehensive list, and you can simply, the best way to find a list of companies is to go on LinkedIn and really search for companies of your interest there and make a list, and then go on to their website, and you'll be able to get more details about each of these companies. Can you share a list of companies in Germany? I have literally created a video titled "The Top 10 Robotics Startups in Germany That Use AI," and you can watch that video. And those are really the startups that use cutting edge state of the art AI technology for robotics manipulation or robotics navigation problems. And these are some of the names and more. And there's Agile Robots, Angsa Robotics, Artisans, Gestalt Robotics, Magazino, Micropsy, Neura Robotics, Bosch, Volkswagen, Daimler, and of course bigger companies. Although for the most part, I've only put startups here, but RoboMinds is there, and then RoboCloud, Suits, and True Physics. And you can search for similar companies on LinkedIn. As I said, it's not really that difficult to find a list of companies, and you can also see what kind of work they do by going on their job opening section and really seeing what kind of technologies do they require for each of these positions, what kind of job profiles are there, and really deciding for yourself, are you really interested in working for a position like this. There's a detailed list on Learn Robotics and AI where I have broken down a lot of these companies, and I've talked about the skills talked about the applications and domains that these companies are in, and what kind of technology they use. So it's a short summary, and you can simply click on the website and go at the bottom, and there's an industry section with the list of companies. And when you click on the go to company page, you'll be directed to a new page, and then there would be these details about each of these companies. So I think that would be really helpful, and I spent a lot of time really finding the right um, company list. And I've gone to certain job fairs and events where these companies have showcased their products. So this is a well researched list there. So this would certainly be beneficial. A bonus question is, do you need hardware experience for robotic software engineering position? Well, yes, you do, but initially you can try to get experience by using just simulation, because robotics, as a if you want to build robotics projects, really hardware related projects, and program your own robotics system, then it can be very expensive. And initially you can really get experience, you can get some um, projects to showcase by doing some projects, by doing those in simulation, and that would be enough. And that would allow you to really choose your career path in robotics, and then you can also get a decent amount of skills in ROS just by doing simulation related projects. And once you see that, hey, I've built 4 or 5 mini projects or 3 mini projects, and I know that this is the field that I'm going in, and I would really want to play with some hardware and build some hardware related projects, because that's interesting to me, and also that would allow me more opportunities in terms of working professionally as a robotic software engineer. So go for it. But initially you can stick with simulation and get used to working with ROS. How to crack high paying jobs which offer interesting projects. You can make your own list of companies by searching on LinkedIn and job portals. You can watch my video titled Look for Jobs Before Learning Robotics, because this will allow you to learn, to focus on learning the right skills that the companies would value in the future. So you can say that, hey, I want to just learn TensorFlow because it's interesting to me, and you start applying for companies, and all the companies in your area, they use PyTorch. That's an example. That's just a hypothetical example. But if you say, hey, I want to just work on using Python for computer vision, but a lot of companies require C++ experience, and then of course you wouldn't be able to get that job. So spend some time before you start learning. Spend some time making a list of companies that are in the areas that you would like to work in, and uh, and taking your location constraints into account, like based on the areas, based on the locations that you would like to work in, and so on. So go for the job opening section, make a list of projects and required skills, and define your projects. Make a portfolio of projects, and then you can apply to these companies. And apply to startups in India for cutting edge robotics. In India, the bigger companies would probably not be working on cutting edge AI or machine learning. A lot of really cool and interesting things are being done by startups, and there's a lot of emerging startups in Bangalore and Delhi NCR region, Pune, and bigger cities. So you can expect to work in really good technology, on really good technology. So once you have a decent skill set, you can also apply for jobs directly in other countries. Choose mini projects that are aligned with the ongoing projects in the companies of your choice. So look for jobs before learning robotics and AI. Select projects that apply CV and ML to robotics applications. This is specifically to Arav because he was primarily interested in working with robotics and hardware. And so for him, he can just focus on ROS related, robotics related projects that also require some computer vision, perception, and machine learning uh, things that apply to some robotic manipulation or navigation tasks. So only select projects that you enjoy doing. This is a general advice that um that everyone should follow, because why would you select a project? Why would you spend 3 months of your life spending doing a project that you do not really enjoy building? Here are some ROS resources. ROS Wiki is the official resource. ROS Construct tutorials on YouTube, ETH Zurich, ROS course. It's a playlist on YouTube that you can follow, and ROS books by Lentin Joseph. So these are some primary resources. Of course, it doesn't matter which resource you choose. The main idea is that you try to build projects of your own interest all by yourself, and then maybe refer to these tutorials or refer to these courses when you get stuck, or when you say that, hey, I do not really understand some of the concepts like ROS action, ROS topics, and so on. So you can refer to that, but primarily focus on building projects. To gain clarity on selecting a career direction, ask which projects do I enjoy doing and which tools or libraries do you like working with. Now this is very important, and because and also programming language. Which programming language do you really enjoy working with? Do you really enjoy programming in C++ or Python, or do you really like using ROS, or do you not really enjoy working with ROS? And then maybe you can focus on non-robotics related job profiles, where you get to do some computer vision and machine learning, and you work with, let's say, Python, but you do not have to learn ROS in that case. So which tools do you enjoy using? Which projects do you enjoy doing? And lastly, if you need help in creating a personalized roadmap or plan for yourself, I can listen to your specific situation and really create a personalized roadmap for yourself, taking your personal, professional, location related, financial, all these constraints into account, your goals, your interests into account. So it's a 30-minute session that you can book. And in this session, I basically talk to you and listen to and try to collect as much information about you as I can, so that I can spend time really analyzing and preparing a personalized roadmap for you. So I try to talk to you and try to understand everything that you need to know, your future aspirations and goals. Do you want to stay in your country? Are you what are your financial constraints? Can you go for a master's, or should you really focus on building a personalized roadmap? All these kinds of things. How to choose your niche, how do you identify your interests, what are your current skill set, what are the primary courses that you might need to take to fill in the gaps. For example, as a mechanical design engineer, maybe you need some programming related prerequisite courses, or prerequisite simpler Python related projects that would familiarize you with programming first, and then you can follow the personalized plan to really make a smooth transition to robotics, software engineering, computer vision engineering, or machine learning engineering. So I hope this video helps, and good luck.